Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, Anita Finley.
Well, we have an author whom you've heard of before. She's been on our show many, many times. She's written so many books now. She's going to have to get another shelf soon. And her name is Leah Hope Becker. And the last book that we reviewed with her was called My Name's Not Robbie Anymore. And it's a mother's tale of losing a son and gaining a daughter. However, it's not really it's a novel. It's not a true story about Leah. So let's just ask you, tell us a little bit about the book and anything funny that's happened since you've written it.
A lot of things. A lot of things have happened. The first thing that comes to mind is I think I had a swelled head that everybody who read the book told me they loved it. And I have a friend I went to high school with who's down here in, she's in Boynton, but I hadn't seen her for a long time. So I went to visit her, and she said, by all means, bring your books. So I brought all four, and she looked at the first one, and she loved it.
Well, let's name each one since you're doing
Okay,
that.
the first one was called I Promise to Keep Quiet After I'm Dead. So she looked at that, and she liked it. I want this one. And the second book was called I Promise to Stay Married This Time. She looked at the book, and she said, I want that one. And the third one is called Children, I'm Home.
Right.
And she looked at the book and said, I want that one. And then I showed her the new book. My Name's Not Robbie Anymore. And she had a very strange expression on her face. And I said, she said, what's this about? I said, it's about a mother who finds out her son has had a sex change operation. And she said, I don't think I want a book about this.
Really?
And I had to deal with the feeling that I had written something that one person didn't want to read. And that was good to know. It was good to know that the subject is not universally appreciated or understood or even laughed at. In fact, it isn't laughed at. But
are you finding that you're getting a lot of that?
No. No, it was almost unique. But that's because most people won't tell you. They'll say the right thing. They'll say, oh, I love it. And then I'll find out, if I have any extended conversation, that they actually didn't really read it or all of it. But
it's always been that way with gay people. It's always the same.
I think what's happening is I am learning what's real out there. And when I first started writing, I think I had nothing but fantasy about what's out there. So now I'm a little more down to earth.
Well, I especially love the book, and you knew that because I've had a lot of things like this that I've known about, with gay and a lot of things. And I found that the parents, at least the mother was not too bad, but the father, these men, that sometimes they just get crazy. I mean, and they just can't accept things as though they're so perfect. And I'm not going to say anything political. We'll do that separately. But I have my opinion about certain things with, the way people treat other people. And it's as though they're so perfect without any differences, right? But the thing that's important is the way you write. It's very funny. I mean, you take a subject like this, which is serious, and you made it so funny about the mother and the father and how they just carried on about it. And it was really pretty hysterical. Yeah.
And the sister had, the way she ran her life was that she was like a businessman. And the mother thought, how did I get two children like this?
Oh, don't we always wonder where do the children come from? The same seed, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to know. Okay, so I know that you're a very creative woman and you love to write. We know that.
Yep.
Now that you've written this book, you're not going to write another book on this subject, but I know you must be writing on some other subject. So tell me what it is.
Okay. Thought you'd never ask. I think I got the idea. Well, I'll say what the subject matter is, and I'm not sure of the final title, so I won't give the title. Although I have breathed the title to some people I trust, and most of them laugh. And one person said, "Oh no, I hate that. You can't have that title." But 4 out of 5 people said, "I love that. That's what I like." Little controversy. I have had weight issues in my life, and I am also aware. I thought about this on the way here that I have had dreams that I remember, and they involved food, and the dreams were mostly negative, like there was something in the dream that I was not doing right. And I can't remember most of the dreams, but I conceived of a chapter about a woman who woke up from a dream about her weight issues, and it shook her. And so that's the first chapter I wrote. And I loved it. I absolutely love this. It's actually a dream sequence. And I loved it. And from there, the book grew. And basically, it's a story, and this is a novel again, but although I have some experience with this, about a woman who's just become what we now call senior citizen. And she has had a weight fluctuation, very serious weight fluctuations. And because of it, her closet contains clothing in all sizes. And it drives her nuts, and it drives everybody nuts. And another thing about this story is she, just like a lot of us like to blame our problems on our childhood, our friends, society, this woman decides that it's her husband's fault.
Oh, that's a good one.
That it's he's the one who's doing it.
Fine.
He's got her life so controlled. So that is basically...
I see. So the only way that she can get out of control is to eat, because she has her own control.
That's the route
right?
she chose. She didn't choose smoking. She didn't choose drinking. She didn't choose drugs. She chose extra food. And now that I had a chapter written, I didn't think it was the first chapter. But who wants to start at the beginning? Why do things? I mean, why do that? You know, that's maybe what normal people do. I know some people that outline. I know most nonfiction books are outlined, but fiction books, I think some people even outline fiction books, and they have a format.
Sure.
My format is to come up with a spark and then try to build a flame.
Well, you do such a good job at that. You shouldn't change. You shouldn't go to what other people do.
Well, but I can't completely do it without help, because I think I go off in tangents, and I know that I do. I could be talking about one subject, and all of a sudden I'm bringing in something else, and people are looking at me like, "Where's the flow chart?" You know, they need to know, where did I go? So I know it, and I can deal with it. So I use people to help. When I read to people that I trust, I use them to help straighten me out. And then they seem to come back and say, we gave you a lot of criticism, and then you did it right. But I didn't do it right the first time. I might have 7 drafts. I might have 10 drafts. Right now, I'm working on what is probably the 15th draft of the first chapter.
Is that right?
At least it's got to be 15 drafts.
But the first chapter is the most important, because
absolutely,
if you don't hook someone in there, they're not going to go any further.
Absolutely. So I've got one now that I think I like, but I may look at it.
But it's a great subject. I mean, it is. Listen, you can't pick up a magazine. You can't watch a television show. I mean, the internet is constantly pouring that to us. And what you don't know is we had a guest this morning who's a dietitian, and we were talking about food. I mean, that was the whole thing about how to, why do people eat, and now there's a laser to get rid of the fat. There's a lot of stuff to do with that.
There is a lot of stuff out there, and this woman has tried every fad in the world.
But now you told me, because I remember now when you first announced you were going to do this, that you said to your husband that you were going to lose weight But remember, this was a big thing with this.
Yeah,
and he was going to hold you down on this,
right.
I'm sure.
So now the way I describe it, so we actually have an agreement. This is true. And I'll say it, it's 25 pounds, and it's a marital contract. So now when I talk about it to people, they say there's a contract out on me. And then they want to know, what am I talking about? And then I explain what it's really about.
I think you just created something pretty exciting. In fact, I could see a contract in the back of your book that someone will buy it and then they tear it out.
I never thought of putting it there.
Absolutely.
I have to give you credit if I do it.
Absolutely.
But I have lost 11 pounds of the 25.
Isn't that amazing?
Very, very slowly. Very, very slowly.
But then you'll keep it off.
Well,
it's easier to keep off than if you lose it all at once.
Like this last week, I lost a few more ounces.
It's fantastic. So this is really wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah,
maybe
fun.
By the time
it's fun. It's a way to approach it without feeling dreary or dismal. Well,
I love this. Now, your next book after you finish this one is How to Keep It Off.
No, I don't think that's going to be my next book.
Okay.
No, because I don't know if that would be as much fun.
No, I'm sure it won't be. No,
I don't know what I'm going to do next. I have a lot of ideas, but
this is a great.
But
great
I don't
idea.
even have I have 2 different endings for this book. It's still in draft, and I thought I've got the whole story worked out, but I got 2 different endings, and I thought that must mean I'm. I'll fail if I have 2 different endings. But then the movie Casablanca, they had the same thing. They had 2 different endings, and they didn't know till the very last minute which one they were going to use. So it's okay.
We all remember that, don't we, Howie?
It's okay.
All right, but now, so this is my question. So now you have, do you know how many chapters will be in this?
Well, they're shorter chapters because I'm long-winded, so I'm breaking them up. There'll be at least 40.
And will your children be in this book?
No.
Not at all.
No, this woman has no children.
Okay, because I was wondering what influence the children would have on their mother who's trying to do this.
No children.
Okay, so no children.
Yeah, no children.
Well, here your children have complained all the time that every book has something in about them, and they say, Mom, write something that you don't include us.
Well, that was the book before this, the Robbie book.
Right.
It was not about them. And this book has no children. There are some interesting relationships in this book, very interesting, but not children.
Okay, so let's talk about the husband.
Yes.
The husband who has this contract. What would he do?
No, he doesn't have the contract.
No, I know. You have
That's my husband.
I know.
No, he's just he's just an entrepreneur. He makes a lot of money.
Makes a lot of money. Okay. But let's just, what would happen then, even with your husband, if you broke the contract?
He won't draw the cover. And I think he's sticking to it.
Oh, this is really...
So I was, wing-dinging it along, careless here. Well, it could take a lot of time. Well, maybe I'll get the book finished before I'm, 6 feet under. But I think in the last few weeks, I've gotten a little more serious. It's like there's a process that I'm going through as I'm writing it, because it's very hard to write about something in such detail, in such vivid, right in your face stuff without having some reaction. And I could say that I'm having a reaction.
Okay, well, I want to introduce you to, again, Leah Hope Becker. All you have to do is go into Amazon.com. You'll see all her books. You'll be able to buy them. They're very funny. I must tell you that. Even the book, My Name's Not Robbie Anymore, is funny.
Yes.
I mean, it's a serious subject, but it's funny. That's what she writes so well. She's funny.
And this one's going to be the same.
Of course it'll be funny. So you'll understand that. And if you want to, all you have to do is click on Amazon, buy the book. They're not very expensive, and you'll just really enjoy it. And she's just a marvelous woman. But I want to keep going on this with you. So you'll see in the December issue, Richard Lederer. You've read a lot of his articles because he's a pretty famous writer. He's a linguist. And Richard Lederer writes something. He has so many books out. But this particular issue, he must have spoken somewhere, and I thought it was so good. He put it in. Now it's part 1, and then there'll be a part 2 about being a writer and what it takes and how you have to get up and, that's your job. And it's very, very interesting. I think you will love it when you make sure you see it in the December issue.
I must be sure to read that.
Yeah,
issue.
you really should do that. So, do you have a special place, and for all the other writers, the potential writers out there, do you have a special place where you write? Is it your own little office, or is it the bathroom, or where do you do this?
Well, I won't say I haven't written a phrase or two in various places, and I always have a notepad with me. But most of my writing is done before my computer, staring at my computer, and I print again and again and again. I think I'm keeping Office Depot in business.
Right, with the cartridges.
With the cartridges and the paper.
I know.
That's my style. And I know writers that will handwrite, and then finally, and when I hear them say they're going to type it, then I know, they're in my generation, because young people don't say I'm going to type it.
No.
They input, or they keyboard, or they whatever they do. I don't even know what
they just say. I'm going to write it, and they know that it's going to be.
And
then
it shows up on a computer.
Right.
Or if I know my daughter real well, if she ever writes anything for publication, she's going to figure out how to not to have to text it. But that's
right.
things
that's
that go
another
on.
story, right?
Yeah.
But so you're actually then. You're not writing it out first, you're typing it in your brain. It goes from your brain to the keyboard.
Once I have it in a draft, I have it all typed out,
It's okay.
printed.
Sure, that's fine.
And I'm looking at it, and a lot of advice for writers is write something, put it away, don't look at it right away. And I listen to that, because you fall in love with your own words. You really do. It's a real love affair. Oh, my God, I love that word. And then you read it for somebody else, and they go like that. So I know that already. And that's part of being able to take in the fact that what I think is perfect isn't always what it's going to end up being. So, like this morning, for example, I must have spent about 45 minutes revising what I had thought was a really good first chapter yesterday. And I like the one I did today even better, because I have been told that if I try to write anything serious for more than like a few lines, that I lose them. I've been told I am not a serious writer. I can only write in this style I have, which is something about like the way I talk. So I'm going to go with that.
Yes, and you should.
I'm going to go with that.
I don't
So
read a lot
unserious part of this first chapter.
That's good.
It's serious, but it's done with a certain flourish. It's done, with a kicker in there. You write a serious sentence, and then I gotta put an egg beater in there, or I gotta put a something in there.
And that's why I love your books. I mean, I don't think I would have read them if they were really serious. I loved your humor. That's how I knew so much about you. You could read some of this. There are some very, very, very funny places here. Even here, let's see, this must have been where you say, in chapter 7, I eyed my new hairpiece in the full-length mirror in Henry's closet. The added height was a plus, but I worried it made me look fatter. Well, I was overweight, maybe 30 pounds or so. And the so part was the number I didn't want to see on the scale. I mean, that's the way you write. So it's not just done. It's all these little innuendos that you put in. And you do a lot of that. Well, and the other part, of course, is do you know what the cover's going to look like yet?
No.
You don't, but you'll give it to your husband.
I have my ideas.
You'll give it to your husband and ask him to help
I got to
you?
fulfill the contract out on my.
Oh.
I got to fill that one.
Right.
And that could take. I would say that's going to the rate I'm going. That's probably going to take another 6 months.
Good.
So if I get this book finished before 6 months, I will be very, very surprised. But once I fulfill the contract and the book is finished to my satisfaction, he'll sit down and do the cover as fast as he can.
Right. But he's never the one that asked you to lose weight first. That was not his idea.
Oh, yes, he has. But
that was his idea.
well, that contract was his idea. I said, will you draw another cover for me? No, I'm not drawing anymore. And I said, oh, come on. All these covers have been my brand. How can you not do the cover? So he sort of thinks for a moment. He says, I'll do it under this condition. And he comes up with this because he had no leverage. He's a fitness person.
That's why.
He weighs himself every morning. If he's a pound over, he changes the way he eats. Yeah. And you know, that's what he does. And he can't figure out for the life of how I don't do it. Right. How everybody doesn't do it. Doesn't everybody want to have a flat stomach and trim everything? So he kind of, he keeps saying to me, you've done it before. I know you can do it. You've done it before.
Is it for your health that he's saying this?
Yes, he says,
it's not because
I love you anyway. This is for your health. It's not good to have this extra weight. So he came up with the idea, and he weighed me. I mean, there's no cheat.
I don't think I could take all this. I mean,
no,
I don't think.
I told this a story to people, and they said, I don't believe it. I said, well, you can believe it. This is, and you accepted that? I said, yeah, I thought it was a great idea.
Well, you know, when I go to diet, I tell my husband, and then I may say, well, gee, I've lost 3 pounds, I missed 5 pounds. But then he'll say, when we'll be sitting down, he said, well, you shouldn't be eating this. I said, wait a minute. I didn't involve you in this. Don't tell me what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing, because stay out of it, or I won't even discuss this with you. I'm very strong about.
Well, my husband does not try to do it either. But in this particular case, I gave him the bait, and he took the bait. And I do want to remind any listeners that this is not exactly what happens in the book. This is not the same idea.
It's nothing. One is the book and one is the author.
Yeah, the story is a story with a lot of exaggeration and a lot of fun in it. But it involves a process, and what I'm saying about how this started is
which is a great idea. See, that's even funny. I mean, that's another part of this, and you have to put this in somewhere in the epilogue or in the back cover, or you have to do something about this.
I'm putting a little pressure on myself here, but that's okay.
You always do.
But that's what I do. That's how I do just about everything in my life.
You know that's really very true. Okay, I want to keep working on this with your. With your story. So you're still trying to rework that first chapter.
Well, what I wrote today, I really like. Although it may be too long. I've got some what we call drops, breaks, and I may break it up into more chapters. That's why when you ask me how many chapters,
you don't know.
Timing is the hardest thing when you are writing humor or when you're speaking. I know that stand-up comedians, timing is absolutely everything. It's not half of everything. It's everything. And when somebody is reading a book, which is in a humorous vein, you just got to snap it off. And that is the hardest lesson I've had to learn.
Well, I'm very lucky because we have have you met Dan, our new administrator? I've spoke with him at all? He's really terrific. Marilyn left after 20-some-odd years, and Dan is fantastic.
I've spoken to him. Yeah. I haven't met his face yet.
Okay. Well, he's really gorgeous. He's really a wonderful guy. And so I write, and then he'll come back, and he will see maybe there'll be 1 or 2 little grammatical changes. But then after everything's put to bed, I go back when I'm doing my final proofing and look, I said, why did I say that? And I cross it off, and I redo it. It could be a publisher's letter, or it could be somebody else's that I, was working on. And so I think it's like a painter. They go, they look at their painting, and then they want to do something else. They're never finished. And I think that's what a writer feels, that, well, I could have done this, I could have done that.
Well, I know some painters very, very well. So I'm not exactly sure that it's a same process, but, different people have different ability to visualize. A painter is going to visualize what the mood or the a photograph. There's a story. Every good photograph tells a story. Every photograph that looks like this is what I did last summer is an amateur photograph. But when there's a story in there, this is, that person's creative process. As a writer, what I wrote this morning, I think I liked. I'll look at it tomorrow. I will not look at it again today. And perhaps I'll still like it. And we'll see what happens.
And do you ever show your husband anything until it's finished?
Lately, he has not wanted to read anything until it's finished. And
he did before, though.
Not really. No.
Oh,
not
so
really.
this is pretty much what you're doing.
He's not a fiction reader. He is not a fiction reader.
I know he's a photographer. I know that's what he does.
He does a lot of
yes,
photography.
I know he does.
Yeah, that's his thing right now.
But you do have a great writers group, and you do share with them.
Yes, it is very good. It is very good. We have another woman that is in our pen arts group, and she finally joined our writers group, and I'm very happy about that. And so we'll get a little new blood every now and then there's somebody who moved away. So it's not, it's not a constant, but basically, and it's a small group. If you have a large group, it changes the entire process.
Well, last night, and I know that, I don't know if you both go to the theater, but last night we went to the Wick Theater and we saw Hello, Dolly. And the thing that made it so wonderful is the first time a male ever played Dolly. And that's right. It was actually it came out of it's a famous actor, and I can't remember his name now, but he was in a lot of the shows in Broadway. They brought him down, and Jerry Herman gave permission to do it this way. He's the biggest hit. He's 73, and once you see him with his wig and his clothing and the way it's been styled, you don't even know it's a woman. And I mean a man. And it is so fabulous. Now they had to run it another extra week. And if you want tickets to the funniest thing, I suppose I could call them and I mean I can't get them for you for free, but they're almost out of tickets. But it's at the Wick Theater in Boca. It's the north part of Federal Highway. We went last night and I can't stop singing Hello, Dolly.
I didn't know a thing about it, but I've seen the movie. I don't think I've seen the play. I know I've seen the movie.
The play, the way that they shot this, and of course the woman who runs the Wick Theater, Marilyn Wick, owns the largest costume shop in the world. And so Broadway comes to her for all the costumes. And so when you see this, you'll see costumes like, someone could never afford to put all those costumes out, but they're hers. And she had, she's out with us afterwards in the stories she told about this whole thing. But it is absolutely beyond your belief. So I'm just telling everybody about it. I don't know exactly the cutoff date. They did put in I don't know if they had another 1,000 tickets that they then had because they ran an extra week. But it's, and I go to all her shows. And every one is as good as the other. But this, because it has the twist, which I was thinking of you. But here you have a male playing Hello, Dolly.
The last theater offering I went to was 2 stars from Monty Python at the Kravis.
Yes.
Eric Idle and I got to think of the other comedians.
Yeah, we're going to see We go to a lot of crowds. Yeah. We're going to see Blue Man Group, which is a great show
I've heard
too.
Of Blue Man. I've heard of it. I've never seen it. I've only seen the ads.
It's another one you should really see. But this is more for you because of the whole situation in your life and how it's just worth it. And you'd have to call right away and see. I know they'd have some tickets. Like we went yesterday, Tuesday at 5:00. We don't usually go to the theater Tuesday. But we did it because those are the only tickets we could really get.
Even over the holiday. We got the holiday.
Call them and get it. The Wick Theater and I would love for you even to meet Marilyn. She was just on the show the other day, but she knew nothing about theater other than because she was all around with
John
costume.
Cleese. You know how the brain works.
Yes.
Eric Idle's name came here, and John Cleese's name was over here.
Of course.
But they were really, really funny. But I got to tell you one thing about it. This is before I had the eye surgery I told you about.
Yes.
And we were sitting in very good seats, but we were still pretty far away from where they were. It's a very large auditorium. So they had a big screen, and they had words and funny things, to announce what they were going to do. I could read the big words. I could not read.
Yeah.
And I said to Wayne, I said, "Can you read that?" He said, "Of course I can." And he read it.
Yeah.
And
So
I
you
thought,
knew you had to have.
that does it.
Yeah, that
so
did
I
it
went
for
and
you.
had the
And
LASIK
you
surgery.
can't see everything, but you said you need close-up
I
glasses.
need reading glasses. It's going to be that way.
All right. Well, how is it when you're working on your computer? Do you need?
I
to
have to have reading glasses.
You have to see
because
them.
my left eye was so bad, and I had a special lens put in, not just the laser. I had a very special lens put in, and it was never going to be 20/20. My right eye now is just about perfect.
So in other words, you're okay with your writing. It hasn't really done anything different.
I
other than
have to
glasses.
have reading glasses, and when they are, the operation is still pretty fresh. When everything stabilizes, then I'm going to get the whole thing with glasses, where I don't have to have something,
Oh,
like
all
that.
right.
But I have to have reading glasses because
Yeah.
everything's a little blurry.
Oh, yeah. That's not good for a writer, is it?
Got it.
All right. Now, my other question is: do you read other people's books a lot?
Yeah, a lot of books.
You do?
I read books that are not well known, and I read bestsellers. And I'm in a book club. And this is not a writers group. I'm in a Ballin Isles book club, and it's a wonderful book club. And they think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful, and I would not miss. It's once a month. I don't live there, so they call me in, and it just.
And so who decides on the book?
Well, they have a committee, and then people make suggestions, and then they decide, and then when they come down to the the time, they try to stay about 5 or 6 months ahead, and when it comes time to select the next issues, they discuss it with the whole group to get the feedback.
So have they ever taken your book and?
No. They had an experience. And this was about, it was 5 years ago, where they had a book which was written by a person who was in the club, and it did not work out well. And they decided, we're not going to do that again.
It's too personal.
So I have no expectations.
Too
None
personal.
At all. But
this is the one they should discuss.
Yeah, but there are books that if you go into Barnes and Noble, there are books that are what we call book club books.
Yeah.
And I don't mean they're just book club, but that's the kind that are meaty. A lot of times there's been a lot of research. I once accused them that they only picked bestsellers, but that isn't exactly true. But a lot of them are bestsellers. And
but you said,
that broadens my horizons.
But you said something. Yeah, I know. But you said something that when you go into any of the bookstores, the few that are left, there are so many books.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many authors. And the reason that our book of the month and our Publisher's Choice has been successful is because at least somebody cares.
Yes.
And somebody brings it out there, and they get a lot of PR because most of the time you've worked so hard, and then it just sits there. I mean, sure, you sell a certain amount, but it's not really out in the public.
Not really, and certainly
so
it isn't in
it's
my
not
case.
fair.
Yeah,
I don't think it's
I made
fair.
a decision at some point, whether or not it was voluntary or involuntary, that I just have to write.
Yeah, I agree.
And now that I've published, I may as well publish.
Yes. No, you have to do what you're doing.
Have to do it.
No,
Have
I
to do
understand that. That's a real writer. In fact, my husband, at one point before he was writing, would say, well, why do I want to do that? Probably won't sell. And I said, well, Bill, if you don't really want to do it, you shouldn't. If it's a passion for you and you want to do it, then it doesn't matter. You have to get it out.
I part of me says it does matter, and my husband thinks it should matter. But we don't always agree 100% on everything. And I think, well, it matters. And if everybody told me it's no good, stop doing it, I suppose it would influence me. But that isn't what I'm
No,
hearing.
that's not hearing. No, because
That's not what I'm hearing.
Because you really
Yeah.
have a way with words. And so I think you should keep doing it. And you never know. Books keep coming back. There's many times I go back to a book that I really didn't realize how good it was, or I didn't, it didn't make an impression. I mean, it did, but I may have read it in college or somewhere else. But I would like to go back and read some of the books again because I'm bringing a lot more experience in life's pluses and minuses to a book that I didn't have before.
I have movies I've seen over 20 times.
And each time, right?
I've seen them. Really, if I like a movie a lot, I will see it again and again and again. And every time I see it, I'll get something different that I didn't capture before. There'll be something about it. And
Well, I have to tell you, and I know this is silly, but The Golden Girls for me is one, maybe because of my gerontology, but I love that. The comedy, the actresses were first class. And the reason is when my mother had Alzheimer's and I would be sitting there a lot, in the evenings with her and all, that's what we'd put on. And somehow she got it. That was a good thing for her. And so that's an interesting for me, but I love it just because of the humor, and the acting is amazing. And I say, well, why don't we have something like that now? Let's get a bunch of boomers who are doing something like that, or men.
that did run for a bunch of years, and
It
I
still
think
runs.
it's still
runs.
it's
Oh,
on,
it does.
on reruns.
It still runs.
Yeah.
Did Betty White just die? I just saw that.
I don't know.
I thought I saw something on my that would have been made a big
Listen,
bigger
Betty,
splash.
if you're out there, let them know.
Right. I thought I saw. You can't believe anything
I
you see
don't
on the
know.
internet. I thought I saw a little thing on the internet
good.
that. Okay, good. Well, I hope that she didn't, but I haven't seen it anywhere else. And I said, gee, because on the internet you can't believe anything you're seeing now. I mean, they're really crazy. But anyway, let's get back to your book and what you're really doing with that. We don't have a title, but we do have an idea what it's about.
Well, I have a title.
I know, but you haven't told us.
Well,
That's
I
okay.
don't want to say it because I may
Okay,
change
'cause
it.
That's right, you may change it.
And
Okay, but let me ask you, at the very end, and you probably don't even know the ending yet. You said you didn't really know how it's
there
going
are
to
two
end.
different endings.
Yeah, two different endings. Will people who are reading this maybe have a way to start losing weight? Will
It's
it help them?
possible.
I mean, will it be a
I didn't
morality?
want to make it preachy. If there's one thing I hate about diet books is preachy. And I know that everyone who's ever written a diet book is very earnest. And a lot of people know a great deal more about nutrition and losing weight and chemical balance. I am at the bottom of the list of people that understand exactly, how the body works. But I did not want to make it preachy. It's a story of how somebody thought she didn't get it right and wanted to get it right before it was too late.
Okay, well, tell me one thing. How much weight did she have to lose? Was it 100 pounds?
I think the way I have it now is she would vary between almost being her proper weight, because she was a yo-yo dieter, would go up and down, almost hitting her proper weight. And then she would go up 70 or 80 pounds, which was very dangerous.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot.
I made her a little taller than me because if she was as short as I was,
Couldn't do that.
she'd be lying down on a cot somewhere.
I just heard a lecture from an endocrinologist
Yeah.
who talked about diets and diet pills. And I'll tell you what the outcome was. And he said, we've all been hesitant to recommend diet pills, even though sometimes some people have to have them. He said, but we have now seen people who are on a diet pill and they don't get diabetes anymore. And so we are recommending a few diet pills for people where we didn't do that before.
Well, there are times when people are so dangerously overweight that they have to do something drastic, even though it isn't their first choice. I mean, there's gastric surgery. I know a couple of people have had gastric surgery, and almost always it will take off a lot of weight.
Well, we've done it.
Sometimes you have to make different choices.
We'll get you back again, but we're out of time. Leah, thank you so much. Make sure that you get her book, My Name's Not Robbie Anymore, by Leah Hope Becker.
Amazon.com.
Amazon.com. Thank you very much, Leah.
Thank you.